Imagine jumping down from a box that's about 30 centimeters high, approximately 1 foot. Nothing happens. Let's double the height of this box, and you jump down once again. You feel something, but nothing to be concerned about. Let's double it again. Ouch! This is starting to hurt. Double it one more time, and you fracture your ankle. Double it again, and you, my friend, are dead. If you multiply the initial pain that you felt upon the first jump from the box by 16, the number of times we multiply the box's height, it would not be equal to the actual pain experienced. The pain experienced is much closer to being 1,000 times what you felt upon the first jump. So what's the point of telling you all this? It's to show you that small actions can quickly be leveraged and cause explosive results, and the correlation is not linear. So what separates the Elon Musks, Warren Buffett, Dwayne Johnsons, and Kobe Bryant of the world from the average loser? It's a respect for these small daily actions that can get leveraged with time. Time leverages actions and can multiply effects much in the same way that distance did in the box example. Ultra successful people still do the everyday menial tasks that the average person ignores. The Rock, for one, constantly works out, even at hotel gyms at 4 in the morning. Kobe Bryant was said to have had an insane work ethic during his career, training when everyone else went home. Warren Buffett still reads books for 3 hours every single day despite being a billionaire. Massive success does not happen overnight. It takes the right habits done with machine-like consistency leveraged over time. Unfortunately, the human mind is not very good at conceptualizing time. We often overestimate what we can do in a month and underestimate what we can do in a year. We all know that we need to create the right habits in order to succeed. If we want to lose fat, we need to watch what we eat and exercise regularly. If we want to save money, we need to ensure that a certain percentage of our income remains untouched. If we want to become more knowledgeable, we need to read books, consume courses, and challenge our minds. The pathway to all things good is quite simple. However, creating the habits that are needed is a different story. Habits work in a simple manner. We have a cue, a routine, and a reward. If you have a habit of eating junk food, your cue might be a notification from Uber Eats about some discounted delivery rate. Your routine will involve frothing over the tantalizing menu options and then ordering something that tickles your pickle. Your reward is the influx of dopamine released to your brain as you dig into that creamy chocolate croissant. Unfortunately, the positive reinforcement that comes from many negative habits tends to be very strong. Our brains like what they're feeling. They tell us, "You did a good job here with that chocolate croissant. I love you." The same love that a mother has for a child, or that spammers have for sending me Viagra emails. We are victims of what's called the evolutionary mismatch. Our brains have not developed at the same rate as the technology around us. Evolution is slow AF. Technology moves very fast. Just as you buy your new iPhone, 2 newer models come out the next day to replace it. A couple 100,000 years ago, it would have been advantageous for us to eat 5,000 calories in one sitting, because there was no guarantee that the next meal would come soon. Our brains motivate us to binge on the calorie-dense foods as a survival mechanism. Fast forward to today, and our brains do the same thing each time when we eat McDonald's. The same problem arises when we browse the web and get a Facebook or TikTok notification. More instant positive reinforcement, more pleasure. Unfortunately, for the positive habits that we need to be successful, such as reading or exercising or meditating, the positive reinforcement is too subtle to be noticed. The results tend to be painstakingly slow. If you picked up a book today and it was the first thing you read besides some YouTube comments since high school, then you, my friend, will be falling asleep after page 5. You jump onto YouTube and watch some trending video, your brain will be very pleased. If you sat down and meditated for the first time ever and sat there just for 10 minutes, you will feel yourself getting very irritable. Jump onto Xbox and play Elder Scrolls Skyrim for 9 hours for the 1000th time and your brain will stay pleased. So how can we keep up the good habits long enough for us to start seeing the benefits? It all depends on the habit you see. Some, such as yoga or meditation, can take months before you start seeing clear benefits. Some habits, such as working on your business can take years before you see the fruit of your labor. The key is to stick it through the initial manual stage until it becomes a lifestyle. Many scientists believe that it takes on average 67 days of consistent work for something to become a habit. Once you are in the green zone, you are likely to keep it up. The more complicated and willpower intensive the activity is, the longer the manual period will be. It's so important that we get through this manual stage and get to the automated stage, in which activities become a faculty of the subconscious mind, so we don't have to think about it all the time. And this is when the success comes, when we can leverage time to work its magic. Luckily, there is one ultimate habit that we need to master in order for us to dominate all others. To understand it, we must first visit a hospital. I'm sure you have heard stories of doctors leaving scissors and other tools inside patients. When we hear about these, we wonder, how on earth can anyone make such a foolish mistake, especially someone as intelligent as a doctor? The reality is that we are all susceptible to these mistakes, even when we know what to do. Due to the ever-increasing complexities and distractions of life, we can forget to do the things that are most important. Research shows that approximately half of the deaths that occur during surgery are due to human errors that can be avoided. This is what worries surgeon Atul Gawande. The fact that forgetting tasks such as washing his hands or ensuring that there is enough reserved blood for surgery could have meant the difference between someone dying or going back home to their families. You see, the stakes were high, and he set out on a mission where he investigated two other industries in which human error must be kept to an absolute minimum in order to avoid catastrophes: the aviation and construction industries. These two industries have the best reputation in terms of avoiding human error. Only 1 in 50,000 buildings partially or entirely collapse, and the odds of getting killed in an airplane are about 1 to 30 million, despite your fears after watching air crash investigations. Atul found one common trait that both industries use religiously to ensure that everything that needed to be done was done. The magic tool that helped facilitate all this progress is simple and yet incredibly effective. The tool is a checklist. Before a pilot takes off, they have to consult a checklist to tick off each step. During the construction of a building, various checklists are implemented and used to ensure the building meets all safety standards. Checklists allow us to stop relying on memory, which is notoriously unreliable and flawed. All we have to do to ensure success is to make sure that we tick off every single item on the checklist. Atul returned to his hospital with this new tool, which was enforced for every surgery, and after 3 months of using the checklist, major complications due to surgery dropped by 36%. Death due to surgery dropped by 47%. And Atul documented all his discoveries in his book called The Checklist Manifesto. So how can we use checklists to help us reach our goals? We mentioned before that in order to be successful at anything, you need to allow the leverage of time to take effect. The problem we run into as humans is that we are easily distracted, and it's difficult to stick to one thing long enough for it to become a habit. Shifting our focus to making checklists a mandatory part of our lives removes a lot of friction, as we only have to ensure that everything on the checklist gets ticked off in order to have a successful day. It is impossible to not make improvements in any area of life once this becomes a habit. The first step is making checklisting itself a habit, and this is how you do it. Start by listing simple and basic things that you normally would do throughout the day. For example, brushing your teeth, showering, eating breakfast, and eating dinner. Stick with 4. Cross each one of these off every single day as you do them to start creating the habit. Remember, you're only trying to make the habit of checklisting first. Nothing crazy over here. You will know it's a habit when you no longer have to think about crossing things off. Here is where the fun comes in. Remove one of the items from your checklist. Let's say eating dinner, which you're going to do regardless, and replace it with a goal that you are willing to work on. For example, meditating for 15 minutes. Now go onto your calendar and cross out the date that's 67 days from when you start the new goal. This is when you'll be able to remove another item from your checklist. You will find yourself meditating every single day without fail because having an item unchecked on your checklist will seem too painful to bear. Becoming OCD about crossing out every item on your checklist will be the catalyst that allows you to really change your life. It's important to stick with one new habit for 67 days or longer and not start checklisting with 4 new habits at once. Remember that a 100-watt light bulb can light up a room. However, a 100-watt laser can cut through steel. Our willpower is the same. Keep it focused on the goal. Cross off everything on that checklist every single day. This will be your first habit and the beginning of your new life.